Yes.
You? Did I
No,
surprise you?
I was. The music had me going. I'm thinking the house lights ahead, the crowd, and then I'm like, oh, we're on. Okay, well, we got to do that perform stuff now.
That's right.
Yeah, let me. Here we are again. You go. We go way too far in between shows where it's like, when's the next show? We get to talk, we hang out, we laugh, we're just having our time. And then when you get to realize who's going to get to be on your show,
I
you
know.
literally are like, family. The first word that comes to mind with these two guys is family. We're having family over. You know, we've always talked about, I mean, Talking Tech Paranormal is just that. We like to call it an evening with, right? You name it. And talking about exciting, to get to see some of the people in the very near future that are coming up, you all are going to want to be there because there are some super, super fun, just amazing people in our field that are going to get to be on our show. And I'm telling you, we're also working on something to get to have some amazing people from an amazing location. So when that happens, you guys are going to get to be inside the place of like, oh, no kidding? Yes. That's the whole thing I'd have to say with me and Kelly. We strive all the time of the little things we can do to make things so cool and just make them fun. And I spoke of that earlier about fun. Our show's fun.
Well, it's going to be fun. We have two really fun guys. Get it?
Speaking of,
silly joke.
Speaking of, you guessed it. Ladies and gentlemen, I sit here before you and literally see these two people and think the one thing that comes to mind off the bat is fun. These two, no doubt, are two of the most loved and respected rock stars of the paranormal. Be it going to investigations, getting to hang out with them, getting to be on their show, listen to their show and the folks they have on. But all in all, at the end of the day, when you go to the places, the Bash, these other events, and these guys are there, I mean, they're the same two fun-loving guys that you see when you come up to their table as when you go and hang out with them at an investigation and just have fun. Stories of all the fun things they've got to do and go and people they got hung out with. And I tell you what, Kelly has stories with them about them. I have even my own. But just collectively, when it comes to mine, I don't even think that people can even come up with something to have one bad thing to say. And this business, that's not only really super cool, that's amazing.
Well, I think that's like something that strikes me about these two because they're very authentic. So you can go up to them at any, event or any like investigation, a public event, whatever, and they're authentic people. So you're going to get the same person no matter when you talk to them.
And how important is that in what we do? Because they're actually the fact that they are actually like home investigators, like they go and they do cases. So the thousands of people out there that are in the field, there's hundreds of people that have got to go to events that you know and love. These two tag team champions of the paranormal, please help welcome to the show.
Let's bring them in.
Ladies and gentlemen, you got it. Big Bad Ernie and Big Bad Sleeper Dave. Woo!
I'm looking behind us to see who he's talking about, man. Oh, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
We love you guys. Thank you so much.
He has the best intros. So you'll never have another intro like that.
I almost ran out of here, man. When you were getting ready to bring us in, there was a baby spider going across the screen. I'm trying to
actually,
screen and
if you look right behind you on that little shirt over your shoulder, that's the one that evidently just, they can fly, don't you?
Yeah.
look right by your.
Come on. We have to go to the vet
I
together.
take
I'm
it,
not tolerating that
Ernie,
things.
Dave's laughing. I take it Ernie's not a spider fan, huh?
I'm just thinking about the roll with him. He's like, ah!
You should have seen when they kept from me when we were doing a grand opening at the Gettysburg Trails.
Oh my
haunted
gosh.
trails. They left out the part that there's snakes in the trails.
Copperhead.
No.
And they smell like cucumbers. You can smell them as you come on them.
They decided not to tell me until I
and
arrived.
he's walking along. Do you smell cucumbers? We're like, Ernie, what do you smell like?
Ernie was in his car for a while contemplating letting Dave go solo that night.
That's right.
We've already got some super cool people in the chat room who we always love to reach. Lord Molly, of course, John McGinnis, Tracy Antoinette Smith, super fan, and of course, Martha Real Deal, woo, Warner, and Fred Richards. Yeah, this guy does. This guy does comedy, and we didn't even know it till we get him on the show.
So
We got Alyssa Probst, who's there. Happy hi. My happy friend Robin Kale, and I want to take just a second because I want to do something. I want to share, folks. Please take some time as we go through in the world of Facebook, and you see these folks who, as of recent, and there's been so many, and it breaks my heart. I you know me, I'll start crying. Who have lost their fur babies, and we don't really know. So people tend to say, "Oh, they're animals. It happens." Listen, no. From the moment I got Petey and Bandit, and realize how they come into your life, they are your family. They are your kids. They are your babies.
Right.
And listen, our sweetheart, Gina Bingston with her baby, and listen. So just for their time during this tough times with this, and just a little pet prayer, because for them, hopefully going to get to maybe do a pet rescue and get another animal, because the love that these people give to these animals is so special. So, Robin, I hope in your little happy searching, I think it's tomorrow. She had mentioned I'll be thinking about you, and geez, but anyway,
Let me, if I can intervene for a second while you're on the topic,
yes,
about the animals and the rescue.
yes, right.
I mean, for those of you that follow us on social media, you see my dog Stewie all over the place.
And I got a nosy Rosie.
And actually,
all the pets.
Stewie actually has his own Instagram page.
Yes,
but I can't stress this enough.
Don't get your feet near him because he'll pee on you.
I can't stress this enough, man. If you're looking for a puppy, an older dog, a cat, a kitten, go to your local shelter, your local rescue, because let me say this. For a decade of my career, I was in the canine unit, and the dogs that the police department purchases for us handlers, man, they pay like $7,000 for these dogs. And don't get me wrong, man, they're the best of the best, but there is nothing that can top when you walk in that rescue and bring one of them rescue animals home. Because I don't care what people say. Like they say, "Oh, dogs can't smile," and dogs.
I got pictures.
Yeah,
I got pictures.
So please, if you're looking,
check my Facebook. I just posted one the other day of my dog upside down with her tongue hanging out over her head.
She got that from him. If you're looking to get a new fur baby, please go to the rescue.
Yes,
like the county and Dave live in. When I went to get Stewie, they were running a special because they seized like 83 pit bulls from a dog fighting ring. And if you're a county resident and come over, everything's free of charge. The adoption, the neutering, the shots, only thing you got to pay, I paid was $10 for the chip, but I made a big donation to the place itself. But
sure,
please go to your local shelter and get your dogs and cats and get them there.
Yep. Absolutely. I have 2 rescues too, shelter dogs, and they're almost 13 and 11, and they're my babies. So when I
when I broke off from my group and started Paranormal Inc., it was a solo project. I went to this paranormal rescue.
A solo project with a partner.
I was looking for
You found Dave.
I went to a paranormal rescue and I was looking for a tech guy, and I found him.
Hey, that's
There
a
goes
rough
Dave
deal.
looping up.
I got him real cheap.
$10 later, there he is.
$12.50.
Oh,
Now he pees on your feet.
Now, let me clarify what happened. My dog Stewie, if you try to come in on my property, he goes crazy. But if we let you in, he's absolutely fine. So I called Dave over one night when I was contemplating, us leaving our group and going by ourselves. So it was the first time Dave was at my house, and he come in and he pet Stewie and everything, and we went out back and sat on the deck.
Having a cup of coffee, just chatting.
Yeah, talking about our, upcoming project. And Stewie come out, and Dave called him over, and he just picked his leg up and peed all over Dave.
Well,
He was marking you. I think he was telling his daddy, "I love him."
He's never done that and hasn't done it since. But he made you. He made you his.
oh, Stewie.
He marked you. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this show, and but that's what's so special about how our
That's right.
Stewie decided to own Dave Stewie. Got a pet named Dave. And there we have it. Lauren Molly gets the joke of the night.
Lauren, you won on that one.
I think we just got a snort out of Dave too. We got a quick snort.
I can't breathe.
Ernie.
But you know what's funny though? Like Dave comes over to my house sometimes for dinner, and he'll be sitting at the table eating, and Stewie will just come up and sit next to him and look up and like mean mug him and just sit there and stare.
Dave's not. Does Dave have to come to the back door, or does he get to come to the front door now?
He only lets me out.
He's got a little door trap, a little Dave door trap. He comes through. Help, Ernie! I'm stuck, Ernie! I'm stuck.
Oh, I can't breathe.
And then your baby comes and pees on his forehead, stuck in the doorway. Oh, the show has went. So I guess we can have a new little thing, Pet Paranormal Night, folks. We're going to talk about the paranormal and pets and just everything all things fun. It goes to show you, though. I mean, when we can have the lighthearted conversations about our people we care about, Robin, who I talk to her so often because I listen, and maybe this humor tonight, you think about it, she says too damn funny, is that those are those times where if you think, okay, how are we spinning this? We're having some fun, make things a little lighthearted to get you through the week when you're having it tough. And you could say, at least when I went with, having Keith and Kelly and Dave and Ernie were on, I laughed. I had fun. I wasn't as sad before but that's kind of what I told Kelly. The little things that we do and how we try to bring a happiness to otherwise a field, which we'll talk about this just a little later, that has got to be so bam, 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 bam. I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Well, I've been on TV.
Hey,
well,
let me.
What are we doing? Guys, talk about it. What are we doing?
Let me put this in perspective, and I'll sum it up as quickly as I can. And if you guys hear strange noises, you got to forgive me. It's my stomach.
So for those listening at home, there's a discaranormal. It's not normal noise.
It's not paranormal.
It's Ernie's stomach. So
what's happening is everybody's favorite paranormal investigator, Mr. Scott Porter, we're messaging back and forth about food and what we're going to eat at the bash. And right now we're talking about barbecue, the truck that Eric Julian got. Anyway, but let me put in perspective what you were saying, Keith.
Okay. Dave
and I are in Maryland. You're in Texas.
Right.
Kelly, I believe you're in PA. Keith's best friend, James, a friend of ours who's in the New England area.
Yep.
We're all friends and we're scattered all over the place. But what is the one common denominator that made us all intersect and become family?
Right.
Right?
I say one word.
One love. Yeah. But think about it. And for those of you that purchased my book, there's a quote I put in there that, we set out to find the spirit world, but in reality, it's the spirits that find us and bring us all together. And that's exactly what happened. Is it fate? Is it full circle? You know what I mean? So.
But and that's interesting. I just got off the phone with messaging with James and us talking, and he gives me a lot of really great advice in times when otherwise, and so does Kelly, and of course with Ernie as well. But the thing of it is that as we get to be close to these people, it's interesting of how maybe Ernie could be going through something, and then I'm there. Hey, I'm there for you. And he says, Keith, I've really got something going on. And we sit there and we talk. Kelly has things, and sometimes where obviously some things are stressful. It's like life, being a school teacher. Me at times, some of the things is, well known that you're going through at these times, but getting to talk with people who say, look, Keith, just stay the nice, happy guy you are. Time and tide will pass. Things will get better. And it started with what? That friendship from the very beginning is how we meet and greet and then get to in time. And then we literally become like family. Even as mad as we get sometimes, we still are like, but that's my buddy.
See, what I try to tell people, because we know how, for lack of a better term, we know how cutthroat this business can be.
Sadly.
And here's my thing. Like, Keith, you and I are very close. Same, right. Kelly, you and I, you know how we roll. I always tell everyone, look, what goes on, how, some negative people are. If you hear something or you think something that someone said we said, we're going to do, before you pass judgment and go getting mad, please just simply call me.
See,
what I mean?
And just awake all night, I'm awake all day.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what's so interesting. What the man just said right there, guys, please, if you're watching right now, kudos to that. If you happen to not be and you go back and do this, big key, that point right there, right there. So sadly, in the world of what we do in the paranormal, and then what the things you see on the world of social media, and these long, huge, horribly unkind, and absolutely, totally unprofessional things that get cast against other people.
Yeah.
If here's where the flag is, and I'll say this, okay? If you know this person for who they are, and you're like, that guy's the same guy who took me to dinner. That's the same guy who I talked with yesterday and is going to be there and yet you hear something, you're like, no, I don't. Think about that.
The funny thing about Dave is everybody knows how excited Dave is and hyper Dave is, and that's not for the camera, man. He's like that. He's like that. He will call me 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm at work.
Check this out.
And it's like, Dave, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, man.
Well, good morning. I should go have some coffee.
It's so good to have that super cool, really, I say friend, a brother. As many know, I lost my twin brother in 2017 to cancer. And and so I look at when people have relationships that you forged in closeness, and I look at reputations as something you hold so near and dear. You Absolutely. Work a lifetime to get them there and have them so dear to you.
Yep.
And why would you go out when you see these bad things that are posted about you and do something to tarnish them? Yeah. You worked a lifetime to get there. And so I tell you, that's why for me, a lot of times restraint and sometimes just pulling back, and just thank God having Kelly in my life now to kind of say, now, Keith, There's those words. I know. Now, Keith, and talking to her is a counseling moment because she's able to say, Keith, show that sweet side of you of how people, and actually I've called it the 99% rule. That side of all these people that know you. And then the 1% side that these people are speaking badly about, it's that one person. It comes back to just one, ding, 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 ding. Where's the bell? One person that is the one causing it. So that's why I go about when we speak of the love and the kindness and the bashes coming up. I see, of course, Steve Zone and Pam and all the people we love. They do such good things in the community. Yep. They have a show where it's so wholesome and beautiful and a part of. I will say, folks, I want to say tonight just quickly, I am not going to be able to attend the bash. I don't know if you read the post. I have five family members that have COVID, and I have been around. And as you know, also in the fire service, I literally had some near-death experiences. I didn't actually die on these, but these were experiences to where I could have been paralyzed. That being said, I didn't realize how quickly, as you grow older, your health gets to play a huge component of your life. And sadly, as of late, some things have just been very challenging. So I think it's the responsible thing to do. I don't want to take the people that I love and care about and expose them and be there and then say, hey, I wanted to be around friends, but I've been exposed to COVID, and then there you go. So you guys are going to be there. Kelly's going to be there. So many of the other people I love. So I send out love and light. I hope you guys have an amazing time.
You will be there in spirit, my friend, all the way.
Hopefully by next year.
I'm going to live him. Like, I'm going to video.
Yeah, so that's fine.
I'm going to call you with random people. It's going to be a constant surprise.
Well, here's the thing. We're going to be doing a live show while we're there. We're doing a live show while we're there.
Right, yeah.
So be ready for a link, because you're going to get one from me probably on a Saturday going, hey, we're going live in about 20 minutes.
Hey, and I'm all for it. That's what I've talked to Kelly, and I think I talked to Ernie, but it's just, man, I would never have thought this in all my years. And I'll tell you, sadly, speaking of that, these are people who have been vaccinated. Now, you go figure that. That's crazy, but it's true.
I was watching
been vaccinated, and they're coming back positive.
Watching a lot of the numbers that they're showing on the news, the majority of the hospitalization cases are people that are vaccinated.
No, that are not vaccinated.
No,
actually, it is. So
I've been watching the national desk every morning. They're saying it's the ones that have not been vaccinated.
Well, it's a big
wrong panel.
Well, right, and the CDC. If you go to the CDC, that's where.
I don't think there's a right channel. Like, I don't think there's
this channel. This is the right channel.
Like,
we won't
all your news right here.
We will not lead you wrong. Trust me.
That's right.
So that being said, I mean, people are like, go get vaccinated. And now people are saying, wait a second, are they the ones that are or not? Or so Steve Viniganzo, he's up on things. Well, we see the majority of the people in the hospital are not vaccinated. So we could call them the hospitalizations, the ones coming back positive. 98% of the people dying are the unvaccinated. So it's golly, it's just getting to be to where it's such a big question mark when you mention the words. It's like, prayers for this country. I really do. I will tell you that.
It's incredible.
And that's what's scary. When you think about it, people going to different events, and we say, how many people in this room, if we held up the doors right now, tested you, that you would come back negative, and you get a lot. I know I would. And then guess what? Find out that they do, and they're positive, and they're like, I didn't even know. That is the scary thing about this stuff. You don't have to have big flags waving it that you're showing the signs, but you're coming back positive.
But
COVID doesn't discriminate either. I don't care who you are. You can get it. So if you're not taking proper protocol and proper precautions, whether you've been vaccinated, unvaccinated, mask, no mask, if you're not being prepared and ready for it, you're going to get it.
Pam's got something in there that mentioned something about not true, and I guess I was trying to clarify what could be.
Speaking of scary, what are you guys doing next?
Oh,
what's coming up? What are you doing? Where
I got a notification. I haven't even spoken to Dave about it, but we're going to have another upcoming residential case. We haven't set a date yet, but Kelly, you will be a part of it next month. World's largest ghost hunt, national.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's going to be myself and Dave and Kelly and Mr. Jeff Leeper and our friend Lorraine Malloy, who's in the chat room. We will be investigating the haunted Samuel Miller Mansion, where we've been many times, all of us together.
And you forgot something very important this week.
No, they said after.
Oh, after. I missed that.
Speak forward. He's got COVID in his ears.
Huh? What?
Yeah, so the bash is, of course, this weekend. And you guys went live yesterday to kind of talk about it. And you had a lot of people weigh in on their past experience and everything. And I know that
that's where we met. That's where I met the both of you at.
Right. Yeah. So
that's true. We had our breakfast time there. That was
our breakfast buffet. Yeah.
That was there.
Hey, Keith, let me put this out there real quick. You may have heard me speak about it yesterday. Someone from the Wyndham Hotel restaurant notified me. Since this whole pandemic thing, they cut their restaurant staff. They have one hostess, one server, one cook. So, what's the matter?
You didn't just hear that? And Rose over
That's
there.
it could be my stomach.
No, I have things that float around here occasionally and make noise. Like one time we actually heard it sound like my front door got kicked in, but I just heard literally sound like something was walking right above us. Sorry.
If you're coming to the bash and you want to eat at the restaurant, dinner only. They are saying make reservations for dinner. Breakfast is fine. You can just show up. But since this whole COVID thing, based on the amount of people they have working, they're trying to keep it a little organized so that everyone gets proper service. So if you're coming to the bash, you want to have dinner at that awesome restaurant, make dinner reservations.
And it's due to a reduction in staff. That's why.
Right.
They want to make sure that they have enough people on staff to cover where you're going to be.
But there's going to be 4 food trucks there. The one I'm looking forward to is the barbecue truck.
I'm looking forward to the four trucks.
Yeah, that's well, I enjoy the times there in the restaurant, just the breaking the bread, getting to hang out with your pair of peeps there, and just that's such a magic time. And then of course the back patio, you get to kind of sit there and watch the sunsets and just
special surprises.
I'm sure you do.
Surprises for the back patio for those who are going to those events.
Oh Lord.
Well,
we can talk about it later.
I know, and I know. Trust me, I'm gonna just get through this week. But it's a responsible thing to do. We decided that that's just gonna be something we roll with, and then there's 2022. So, and but we got to speaking earlier, and it's something interesting. And Dave had a story that he kind of mentioned about an event that happened with him. And then I spoke of something that happened to me at while I was at the bash. It was that Sunday evening, and me and John went to investigate at the place I have permission. And basically every time that I've got to go to this place, the stuff we get is just, every time I'm like, what's going to happen this time? But the subject came out about portals. And the interesting thing that I look at that in the world of the paranormal is each of us that are here, I know Kelly has thoughts as far as with her kind of clairvoyancy of how that energy and things come through that. And Dave has had his experience. Ernie, have you ever had an experience that you felt you were somewhere where either a portal was either you were in amongst of it right there, or it was something that you potentially had something to do with it, you think?
I believe so.
That one house we went to with the downstairs
in the basement.
Yeah, in that basement, the bar, whatever it was, that place was weird.
Which one was that?
The one up in Pennsylvania. The bar, they closed it. Somebody else bought it, and we were on the one floor. And that square thing.
Yes. I've had several, Keith. Like we were just talking off air, where Dave and Kelly and I and Loren and Jeff will be next month. I'm not quite certain if it's a portal or it's just a like a paranormal highway, but it doesn't seem that we have like what I like to call resonant spirits. It's always different interactions and appears to be different folks that we're communicating with,
except for one little boy that hangs in the rafters.
In the rafters, yeah. Now we have had, like Dave just mentioned, we have had residential cases and public events where there have what we believe portals. We investigated. We held a public event at the Reliance Bar and Grill in York, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And when you get down into the you got to tell them the story, though, when you guys saw that shadow and then someone come down the hallway.
Oh, dear
God.
But
we believe there was a portal in the basement. But check this out.
All right. So everybody kept talking about these shadows in the back. All right. So me and like 4 or 5 other people just kind of – and we were up front of the bar all night getting really good EVPs, really good Ovilus, really good Phasma. I mean, it was getting really good. Things were going off. So the excitement and the charge was there. Downstairs, we thought there was a portal and people were actually getting really good stuff. So we broke off to go to this back area where Ernie had talked about. The kitchen's on to the right, and there's this long hallway.
And it kind of goes on like a decline.
And it's a decline. And I'm down there, and I saw what looked like a shadow move from the right to the left into a wall. And I'm sitting there, and somebody else came up, and I'm like, dude, what, is it me? Or is there something down there? And so now somebody else comes, and we're talking about it. Well, all of a sudden, out of the black comes this huge shadow coming at us really fast. The noise that came out of all of us was like, ah! It was Ernie. There was a side door we didn't know about. And he just came popping out. I mean, like literally 5 feet from us in the dark coming at us.
I had, my group, we were taking like a break. And Dave was down there. They were investigating the shadow. And I thought they heard me coming down the hallway.
Not at all.
So as I approach them, I hear Dave scream. I see 2 other people hit the floor. And I'm like, what's going on?
Literally, he bowled like 5 people over just by stepping out and walking at us. We had no clue. Now, think about seeing an entire black mask. Because remember, he's wearing black and it's dark. He just comes around that corner and there's like this little cart there that blocked his head. We all just pretty much shit ourselves. There's no other.
I had no idea what was going on.
Oh my! And
it was
like,
just
what?
It was just perfect timing because they were like looking down the hallway, investigating, the shadow they saw, and I just came out of the darkness.
Yes, and he was coming full tilt, and just
we got some questions that are coming through for you guys.
Yeah, and I think too, one more aside about portals before we move on, because there's questions about other things. But something that I don't think people know, that from my experience with spirit, I think portals are something that also can be manipulated and encouraged.
Right.
So if you're not really sure what you're doing and you have questions about that sort of thing, make sure that you research and ask a reputable person like that.
I completely agree with you, Kelly.
So that's important, because sometimes, what we think or what some people think is something innocent is actually not so innocent, or doing something that's not so innocent. So
right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say, Dave?
In answer to Steve's question, absolutely. I was born on October 30th, day before Halloween. So I've always loved creepy, spooky, and I've always been that guy that goes into that place that you really shouldn't to see. One day, I went for one of my anniversaries to New Orleans, and I had several really good experiences, including catching an image in a building that should not have had a person in it. I actually had a curtain open in our room, and we were both still in the bed. Just some really weird things happened. But at a restaurant, I got a picture of this image in a mirror that looked like a guy in a shawl and looking out. Well, I knew Ernie from karate, and I came back and I'm like, dude, I got to show you this. This is going to blow your mind. And when I showed it to him, he's like, dude, I'm going to blow your mind. I said, okay. He's like, I'm with prom. I'm like, you want to take me to prom? He goes, no, I'm with prom. I'm like, okay, say that in English. Paranormal Researchers of Maryland. I'm like, really? So they got me into the group, and that's how I got into actually doing real paranormal investigation. So we did several years of that, and then
we stepped aside.
Then he did his solar project and took me with him.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, and I know the two of you together have had a lot of collective experience. So Steve has a comment there you can read about orbs. You know, what are your thoughts on orbs? And you guys, you know, Dave, you guys use a lot of technology, Ernie. You guys, you know, all the time. I stay away from it when we're together, but the two of you use it. So what do you think with these like Ring doorbell cameras and things that are perceived on them?
All right. Let me, I'm going to let you give you his perspective in a sec, but mine is, orbs, you cannot just take a picture of and go, that's an orb. No, you need to look at a flight path. If, like, for instance, you'll see all the dust going this way, and all of a sudden you'll see something come this way and then go that. If you check our YouTube channel out, there's one video of Ernie in there that he actually radioed up and said, Dave, I just got something, you know, on the obelisk that said, watch behind you. Keep an eye behind you. And I watched this orb come in from the top right, go down, go like this, make like a J, go across, go towards Ernie, hover around him, then come around to the right, and then went out of frame at the bottom. Haldeman Mansion, we have a picture of, you can actually see a bug in the top. You can see dust over here, and this little golden thing right here, and you can see it with your eye going this way. And you can actually see the rings in it. You can see the energy coming off of it.
From my point of view, I can sum it up quick. I'm not an orb fan. Even if you do capture a legitimate orb, that doesn't mean it's Uncle Joe flying in the window to come visit you. You know, it's simply the air is charged, the energy is there. If you're about to experience something paranormal, that would probably be a good time, because the orbs are simply balls of energy, and that's how it travels through the air. So it's a good source of, hey, something might be following next, but just don't get confused that, you know, that's a ghost just flew in, because it's not. It's so
well. I posted one a while back. Was just like actually Dave was saying about that, and my time in training comes from obviously the fire service about HVAC systems and pressures in building and confined space. So let me get to this. Mike Catchings, one of my dear friends, Mikey Catchings from Galveston, have an amazing, probably 15-minute, let's call this a light anomaly, that is on one of their closed circuit TV cameras. Now, there's nothing inside the store. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning, and this amazing self-illuminating light by itself in its own energy, moving against the grade of said spaces within a confined space, moving in a pattern not continuous to where there's no wings. There's it's big as a softball, not a minuscule dust particle, and it goes up and down the aisles. Then it walks down the next aisle, like it's shopping, and then it kind of walks and looks in the. Then as it makes its exit, it does this little, hey, looking around like it's trying to get out of there, and then it goes totally back against, and I mean it's gone in an instant, and I mean vapor trail fast.
Keith, listen to this one. This one blows my mind. I can't explain it.
We've been checking out these videos. A friend of mine lives in Florida, and I forget exactly what her company is, but they have the 24-hour indoor cameras on a business.
Right.
And she will send me
looking at cubicles.
Yeah,
just a whole bunch of cubicles.
She will send me these videos that they capture nightly. And the place is very still.
Yep.
There's no dust, no wind. I mean, the place is completely still. And every night there's this one light anomaly that shows up.
And it's
every
like a plasma
night,
ball doing this.
And it just makes its way through and back out every night.
And it comes in from different locations.
And she's even sent me like, because I had her send me videos of when cars drive by and everything. We tried everything. And this one light anomaly continues nightly to show up. It enters from all different sides of the room, and it's never like the same pattern, but it literally makes its way around the entire area and then leaves.
And it's a see-through, almost like a plasma ball.
An ectoplasm. So you know what's interesting about that is I asked one time, and we had it dead in the rights. It's biased, and I'm watching it. And I asked it, I says, how are you showing yourself right now if you're talking to me? And it goes, balls of light.
Mm-hmm.
What else are balls of light that we see? And it's like, okay, if I said orb there, they'd be like, what?
Yep.
What? But they do know balls of light. So possibly could we argue that the balls of light are the perfect form of pure energy, and then it actually elongates into this very translucent, either full or partial apparition, depending on the amount of the energy in said light anomaly. Now I get real detailed because I do a lot of looking and going and spending time, because how do these spirits move about? How is it we're seeing them? When they're saying, I'm right here. It's me. Look at me. You're not paying attention. That's what you're seeing is me. That light energy. That's me. And I've even asked, we were up in Pinhurst, and we were down in the basement and solitary confinement. And I asked it, I'm like, you said you're here. Where are you? And it says, here I come. And this huge light anomaly comes straight towards us like a flashlight. And he says, here I come. And then I says, and that's what I asked it. I says, how are you showing yourself? And it says, balls of light. Boom.
All right. Here. All right. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of, our philosophy and what we do in our one of our seminars. A lot of people don't know I'm actually a lay minister with the United Methodist Church. I come from a philosophical side, as well as I'm a scientific side. I do computers. I love, knowing about the real, how it works. If you actually, for those that believe in Christianity, Jesus arose from the dead. We know that. We know that he rose people from the dead. All right. So from the scientific side, we know that the body produces energy and you cannot destroy the energy.
No.
So if you put those two together, what happens to that energy when you die?
Right.
And can that energy be recalled or manipulated to a point where it can be reused a different way? I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying food for thought there.
That's interesting. That's why the paranormal is so intriguing to me. And I have a very dear friend who has an amazing location that the spirits, and they call her by name. They say her name. She asked, is there a portal in this house? And I believe they told her 2. And she's like, really? And they're like, yeah. In the bathroom, and there's a closet. And then actually says, where's the other one? And they say, downstairs. And this person actually has them own the space, and they call her by name. And it's like this little paranormal little home that they just are happily there. They interact with the pets, they play, and they laugh, and they're happy because what an amazing spiritual connection from the ones of the past who now are connecting with us of the living, saying thank you. Thank you for listening to me and believing I'm right here. Think of what happened. They died. And they're like, I got my life taken away from me. I was only, 48 years old, and whatever happened. Now you're talking to them in a place where no one may not be. So that's why I tend to put a lot of faith in of how this whole things of these different light anomalies potentially could be very realistic as to how we view the paranormal. And I think we're only getting on the outer bands of what we're starting to document.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to blow your mind one more time. So here's something to think about. In Revelations of the Bible, King James Version, it's going to tell you that the dead will be judged in the end. Okay. So in the Bible, it talks about heaven. It talks about hell. There's also a third place that in the Methodist side, it doesn't mention as, but in the Catholic side, mentions as purgatory. So what is purgatory? My opinion, this is mine strictly, is it's a waiting room to be judged at the end. Well, if you're entered into heaven, you're there. I don't think God would say, you're here, you're stuck here. I think he's going to say, okay, you can go visit your family, you can go watch. So I think that that's where some of those transient spirits can come in and watch. In hell, sorry, you're stuck there. At least my opinion. But a little one. But in purgatory, where are you at? You're just kind of floating in the waiting room, hanging out somewhere. And again, this is strictly my opinion, the way I think of things.
Isn't that so true? Because what you just said, you nailed it. How many times have we heard on these devices? I know that I have door shutting, like a door shuts. And I'll go ask to get, hey, can you find my brother? And one of them will say, I will. I know. So we made this a pet show from the beginning. I said, why not make it about our
the whole time.
I know. This one was sitting beside me, and as you notice, he was doing now. If I'm away too long, starts the whole, Daddy, when are you coming? So I just said, let's say this is Bandit, also a rescue baby, and I will tell you. Yeah, our feelings we talked about earlier in the show. How go ahead, Kelly.
I think that really ties to what Courtney asked too. She asked about, can people be portals for spirits? And that's kind of what we're talking about. Not only is it our own spirituality or what happens to our, soul as we move on to the other side, but also, encouraging or accidentally beginning portals or welcoming things that aren't necessarily the best to do. So I think more than one way.
I like Steve's answer there too.
I think some portals can manifest on their own, but for the majority of the cases, I think they're unknowingly created.
Generating them, right.
And then once it's like if you pop a little hole in a pipe and that water starts coming through,
it gets bigger.
Once it starts flowing through, it gets bigger, and then it's easy access. So I
so love you, Flip. I love that comment.
Hey, Flip, if you need a book for purgatory, I'll have one you can purchase.
All I can think right now is somebody walking out with like toilet paper stuck to their foot going, I'm reading the magazine.
Flip's gonna be the guy if he passes one day that's gonna take the toilet paper off the dispenser, drop it right in the toilet. You're running in there, nobody else is there to help you, and you got a roll of wet toilet paper, and Flip is like, "Hey, Dave, it's Flip. You bastard! You bastard!"
Hey,
Flip is the king of EVPs, though.
I was just getting ready to say the last time we were at Sam Miller and Kelly and Flip were there with us, and
He's the king of EVPs.
The EVPs that we captured when me, Flip, and Kelly were in that workshop. Remember, Kel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he just plugs his finger into a socket, but all of a sudden they just start. We were at the haunted trails, and we went into to the house where usually people don't go, to one of the kids' room, and we had a spirit tell us to basically F off and get the F out. And just caught it plain as day on a tape recorder, and they was Flip that got it. So,
golly,
yeah,
you tend to kind of know where that guy's probably chose his fate. I'm kind of thinking, purgatory is not his camp, not camp purgatory, and so and so there you go. But I'm so blessed to get to have a world of knowledge of people who are resources like you guys and Kelly, and even so many people. I look in this chat room that I'm like, holy, I mean, you can, that's the cool thing about the paranormal when you're looking to get that second or third opinion. especially when you go into these cases and you're like, I'm going to run this by. I want to run this by Ernie and say, hey, have you had this happen on a case? And he's like, oh hell no, God, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you can that way when you bring this back to the client, you can say, look, this is something pretty. This has never happened before, but here's our thoughts. So, and where else really can you do that with the people that you love and trust and really want to have as your colleagues that we're blessed to have? So, golly.
I mean, we've had to bounce things off of James Anito, off of Jeff Leeper.
But see, the thing is, too, and you have to look at the paranormal field this way. Dave and I are partners now for many years, and we've investigated, oh my gosh, countless. But the thing is, we may be looking at the same thing, but we're looking at it through a different lens. Right. It all depends on
perspective.
What your perspective is, what your beliefs in life in general. Mm-hmm. Where, compared to a lot of people, when I encounter things, to me, I always see it from a more religious or more spiritual side, where Dave, even though he's a religious man, he sees it more scientific.
Right.
But we're basically looking at the same thing. We're just viewing it different. It all depends, at the end of the day, what your general beliefs are, in life. And everybody it takes something different away from
Absolutely.
it. You know what I mean?
So, and it's like a traffic accident. You could have 10 people standing there all seeing the same thing, and you get 10 different
versions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because as you guys are talking and sharing, there's a lot of sharing of individual stories in the chat. So
I'm reading those as they go by.
When we're done and the replay is on, you'll have to go back and read all the stories. But what's so cool is I know a lot of people in the chat right now, and they are so highly sensitive. So to hear what you're saying, and I know like different things, I've talked to the two of you about, or you've talked to me about, from instances and experiences that you've had or are investigating. And it's intriguing because not only does everyone kind of bring their own area of expertise, so to speak, or area of experience, but also, you can look at two different things, and because of your research or knowledge base, have two completely different interpretations of those things. So, the people that are talking and sharing these stories are really, really relevant and really interesting. And I hope that anyone else who catches the replay goes back and reads all the stories too, because there's a lot of sensitivity in the chat room right now. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I know from a sensitive point of view, there are many interpretations to things that you can hear or you can see or you dream about, or signs or symbols. I mean, there's a ton of different interpretation that you can have with that. So I think it's neat then when you compare that to an investigative side or more scientific side, and then you can kind of broaden your knowledge base about both those things and come to more of a consensus. But if you get a chance, go back and read those comments.
Oh, definitely. I like Natalia's, she was talking about her pastor and she's able to feel and have. So you're very welcome, but information is the key behind the whole thing. Ask people, share your experiences. And that's why I wear this band that says One Love, because a lot of people are like, I'm the king of this, I'm the queen of that, and I'm in charge of this. And if we share with each other and we band together, we can actually break through and find out different ways to look at things.
Yes, I agree.
I agree too. Sorry, I was just leaving a very affectionate comment to everyone in the chat. Sorry, I got distracted.
No worries.
But yeah, no, I completely agree with you too. And I think that's what builds those, not only validation for people with sensitivities or validation for people using equipment, but I think it also builds camaraderie and common experience. Because like I said in another one of our shows with a guest, Keith, I said, when you meet someone who's also doing these things for the first time, it's not a tangible everyday friendship. Like, did you see that movie or Nice Shoes? It's like, did you hear that too? Did you see that too? Like, right. They're not tangible experiences. So you're trying, curiosity is bonding you with those other people.
And let me
tell shared experiences. It's really, really uniting, I think.
Let me put this out there. Like, everybody, that experiences something or wants to experience something or what have you, you know, everyone's becoming so reliant on equipment and gadgets. And, you know, we have 5 senses. And in my opinion, that's the best tools, because there's so many different ways that a spirit can let you know, give you a message, and utilizing all 5 of them senses. I mean, to me, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best tool you have. Right. And I mean, just research some cases or some like spirit visitations, or it all originates with just your common everyday sense. And that can be utilized so easily by the afterlife that people just don't realize it, you know.
Well, and that's what I hear from spirit too, Ernie. Like when I'm doing a reading for a client, I'll say, how are you? One of the questions that I ask often is, how are you choosing to communicate with them? How are you choosing to relate to them? And they say, I've been doing this, but they don't think it's me. They
because
think
everyone is so with, you know, we need REM pods and lights and noises. Yeah. You don't, man. You got, you have what you need. Now, I'm not saying that the other stuff isn't good. Don't, you know, I'm not, you know, don't take what I'm saying. But your 5 senses are always there. Just keep them alert.
Yep.
You know, you might get that smell of food or cigar or perfume or whatever, and look into it, research it. It could be a sign, and you're missing it. And the thing is that I'm afraid so many people are missing messages or signs from above, so to speak. You know what I mean? And, you know, there's even a part in my book where it doesn't necessarily have to be like, say you're concerned about your loved one. I hope they passed on. I hope they're at peace. You could receive a sign from your guardian angel letting you know they're okay. You just have to be aware of what you're seeing and be open to it. Exactly.
Talisha, you just said something about Haldeman Mansion. I want to tell a quick story that you guys will love about Haldeman Mansion that'll kind of give you a giggle. Ernie and I did an investigation there, and I had this guy before everything started walk up to me and goes, look, you don't need to impress me tonight. I'm only here because of my wife. I know your equipment's rigged, and this is complete BS. You know, don't try to impress me. You'll just see me sitting in the background. I'm like, okay, look, I am a paranormal investigator. I'm not going to show you a ghost tonight, but what I will do in Haldeman is I will show you something you can't explain. At the end of the night, I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to ask you, did I fulfill my promise? Is that a fair deal? He's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. So we're walking through, and Kelly, you know the mansion as well as I. Walk up the grand stairway. Directly in front of you is Jacob's room. So we walk into Jacob's room. Most of the guests went to the left. I went to that crooked window and put my equipment in it, REM pods, flashlight. Hey, Jacob, how you been, Mr. Dave? Long time no see. What you been up to, buddy? Oh, by the way, this guy doesn't believe you're here. Can you turn on one of the lights and show me? Now, this guy has a Coleman lantern that he brought in with him with the little turn-on switch on the top. He opens the window and turns it off. When I said that to Jacob, his lantern turns on. He goes,
Dave was asking to light up one of the
little mini mag lights, or one of the, his light turned on. The guy turned white as a sheet, picks up his light and walks out, walks down the grand stairway, and you know the front door there, you heard it slam on the way out. So I sit there about 15, 20 minutes with my group, make sure they have some fun. They see some weird stuff going on. I wanted to go out and make sure he was all right. I found him outside, literally by a truck doing this. I'm like, you okay there? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask you, did I fulfill my promise? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, would you like to come back in and join us? He's like, no, I'm okay. I'm like, well, why not? He goes, because that place is haunted.
But the funny thing, like, I have several of those lanterns that Dave's referencing, and when you turn them on or off, you can actually hear a click,
right?
And when that light was coming on, you heard that click, and it came on.
And the expression on this guy was priceless. And I'm like, I love you, Jacob.
Well, and you know what I do share with clients too, which is kind of something you talked about, Ernie, is that, you know, oftentimes we miss those signs and symbols from them. But from my experience with spirit, every time you have a sign or symbol that you get and you immediately think of someone, that is who sent it to you. I can say it confidently because that's what spirit says. I sent them it. They thought of me, and then they didn't think of me anymore. But you've created that connection now.
You have to figure. My belief is that, you know, we have a guardian angel, maybe several, and you know, whoever is trying to get you that message or contact you for whatever reason, they might not have the energy or the strength. So that guardian angel can work as the middleman, so to speak. You know what I mean? And exactly what you're saying, Kelly. If you hear a certain song or a smell, or there's a certain color feather that drops in your footpath, that could be that angel causing you to remember that loved one upon request from that loved one.
Sure, absolutely. And if you don't know who's sending that sign or signal, ask for it again.
Yeah,
you know, ask for it again, and you know, see what happens. I mean, I always say, you know, the ethers, no matter what it is that you believe, they hear you. You know, whatever. If you are a writer and you write things down, if you pray, meditate, journal, you know, talk to the universe like I do. Whatever, you know, is most easiest or comes easiest to you, they hear you because it's all energy, wavelength, and frequency. And my buddy Tracy has a question. She says, do spirits stay with a ghost box or do they leave? What are your opinion, tech guys?
A ghost box is literally a word bank that can be used by spirits or by entities to talk. So it'll be usually like the obelisk or the phasma box. It's a series of words. Excuse me. So when they're used, it's a spirit using that energy to produce that word, and it moves on. So
it's basically like it's basically like when you talk to text.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Speech to text.
Yeah, that person you're texting isn't hearing your voice, but that device is picking up your voice and putting it into words. So that's basically my take on what the spirit boxes do.
But Tracy, I do encourage teams and investigators to cleanse their So even if it's something that's like that, I encourage that cleansing, because sometimes over time you can get the same interaction on the same equipment and it's not necessarily reflecting where you are or who you're around. It's just someone who particularly likes to communicate through that equipment. So I do recommend, you know, that's like one of the first things I ask teams when I assist, like, oh, when have you cleansed your equipment? Most of them say never. That's the most common answer, but I suggest it anyway, even if it is just a word bank, even if it is just a flashlight, no matter what it is, to be more accurate, so to speak, or reset the place, to reset it to so you know, kind of an aside from your question of the ghost box.
And I apologize for all my coughing. I have a sinus infection that's driving me nuts. So it's like,
Dave. Dave.
All right.
Spirit boxes, I will tell you, I tend to have a little bit of a collection of them, but I will tell you that once they get to be to where they open up with you, then they get to feel comfortable how you communicate with them and have respect.
Yep.
The device you have is simply that instrument of how you're able to then get them to come to that and come through and speak. And so much of it has to do with, like Kelly talked about, Ernie talked about it, and Dave, is that energy, though. Are you off-gassing, emitting this positive love and light that surrounds you, that they feel comfortable to want to talk to you? Because you could have the coolest ghost box in the world, and if you are a person that they're like, I don't want anything to do with, it's not going to do any good. And I've seen people like, this damn thing doesn't work, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder why.
Dave and I can vouch for that, because certain places, you know, throughout, we hold public investigations. And I've noticed that depending on the energy and the excitement of the crowd that night, you know, we can go to one location and the crowd, it's like they're being forced to be there. Like, is this over yet? And nothing happens. And then, you know, 4 weeks later, we're back, a whole new group. And it's like the anticipation, like people are all excited and giddy. And man, before we can even get any equipment set up, the place comes to life. So I think, if you have certain spirits that basically reside at a location, whether they like it there, it's their former home, what have you, it's no different than if someone's coming to your house for an event and they bring this excitement with them. You're going to be all enthused.
You're going to have a great party,
fun. Yeah. And, look at it like this. The spirit is there. Just include them in the party.
Right.
They're there. But just include them in the party as if they were another guest, because that's basically what they are.
I was at an investigation once, and we're telling the people there to look. Remember, the spirits hear the same questions: who are you? How did you die? Tell me your name. Come up with something creative. Have some fun with it. And we're upstairs in the attic, and this lady goes, "Is Dave full of shit?" All the equipment just went off at the same time. REM pod went off, K2 went off, and Mel went off at the same time. And this lady was like, I'm like, you did it. It was great. We loved it.
And they'll validate for you.
Oh,
they'll validate for you.
Absolutely.
Hey, speaking of the bash, it looks like our brother Brandon Johnson, woo, is in the house. Everybody, Brandon celebrated a little birthday the other day.
Happy birthday.
Brandon and his rock star heavy metal friends and stuff. I think I gave a little kudos to him for the day. Yeah, real quick in the chat room, though, I just wanted to try to reach out. If you are someone in the chat room, if you have a question for us, please put it to where we can see, like, hey, Dave, Keith, Kelly, Ernie, what do spirits, whatever your question is, so we can see that you actually have a question. Because otherwise, I don't see it, and we're not able to formulate that as being an actual question. So anyway,
I see Tracy's question here that she is a follow-up to what she did ask, but that's the cautionary thing that I know Ernie and Dave and I have talked about when we've investigated together. Because you don't always know what you're communicating with.
Absolutely.
Ever. And no matter where you are, ever. So that's, again, where you have to have that, build that experience, take those reputable people with you.
Absolutely.
And do your homework.
Right. Yeah, know the
do your homework.
Right. When Kelly's speaking of that, and of course Dave and Ernie, folks, so the big thing about that is this. It's like opening your front door. Mm-hmm. It's not just the butterflies can fly in the room, so can wasp.
And so can
other things. So opening that door, and you're like, hello, who wants to talk? He's like, I do. I mean, hi, I do. Will you be my friend? And it happens. It happens.
Keep something in mind that I've seen too on countless cases. Probably 50% of our residential cases we get called in to investigate. Like everyone knows that if something evil wants to come in, they can masquerade themselves as a child or even as a loved one to gain your trust to get into your home. But what we've come across a lot, and I guess this is just tricksters, you'll have these, souls lingering around their home that just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
It's their happy place. It's their safe place. It's it's where they live. And a lot of times I've seen those spirits, they will disguise themselves as being evil to try to scare people away just to leave them alone. So as much as something
it's like that old man, get off my porch.
And it's true. I mean, they'll disguise themselves as being something evil or malevolent to scare people out. And then they're like, whew, that worked. Now I got my house back. But it works on both sides of the spectrum. You know what I mean? But
give them respect and usually
but you just have to
never provoke. Never.
Always do your homework. Always be prepared. And as fun as the paranormal is and the TV shows are to watch, I mean, it's serious.
Yes.
It's not.
Don't just go into this blindly thinking, I'm a paranormal vet. No.
You got to do your
real quick to Talisha, her which is right below the one you're highlighting. I always bless in and bless out. Absolutely. To Andrew, It's all about the energy. We have a friend, God bless his soul. I'm not going to mention his name, but he is a paranormal disintegrator. That's the only way I can put it. He comes in and literally the place could be lively as hell. Like, there's fireworks going off. He'll walk in, church mouse.
I know it is. It's like
I love him to death, but he's like the anti-paranormal.
Yeah, I don't know what. And the guy's a
great guy.
He's a great guy, a great investigator. But it seems that no matter where this guy shows up, everything stops.
Well, every time he goes, he's in Ernie's group, and I'm like, Ernie, did you get this? Did you get this? He's like, no.
And that's interesting, and that is the case where I've talked about where Kelly's there, and they're like, "Hey, Kelly, hi," and they're talking. Other places, other people are at, and they go, and they're that person. And I think that there's this little happy little energy around the people like us, like Kelly. Wee, little happy energy, and they're like, "Oh, there's a nice one. Hi, Kelly, can you talk to me?" And then there's this mean cosmic rah, energy around, and they're like, "Nope. And here's another question. This is something I look at. Do you think in the afterlife the spirits get to know us? Like there's Keith again. Oh no. Ernie, have you ever been to places where they say your name like, "Hi, Ernie"?
I actually, yes. I have to get the video. Kelly, do you remember the night? It wasn't a public event, but we were at Sam Miller. Remember, it was just a select chosen few, and we investigated it for real. Yep. Remember?
Yeah.
And I was going, they were in groups of like 2, or it was only a handful of us there, handpicked by Kelly. And they were in groups of 2 or 3 in different rooms. So, of course, I was wandering around checking on everybody. And I walked into a room, and whoever was there with his camera, he said, "My friend just walked into the room. Can you tell me my friend's name? He's wearing the baseball cap." And across one of the boxes, it said, "Oh, it's Ernie." And it was so clear. It was so clear. But I wanted to mention this earlier, but you were talking about disembodied voices. I've already been in my house alone in the back of the basement, like folding laundry or whatever, and thought my wife had come in and called my name, where I actually stopped what I was doing, went to the steps and yelled, "I'm down here, what?" And there was no one there. And that's happened on many occasions, and I've heard it, male and female, call my name, and that's in my house.
You should see the microphone I put in. It's just a mess with him. Hey, Ernie.
Oh no.
Oh,
wow, some really cool questions still coming through the chat room, folks.
Yep. Can you see Steve's question there? He said, "How are spirit boxes and EVP recorders any different than a Ouija board?" You don't know.
Oh,
see,
the Ouija board.
I debate this with a lot of people, and I have my own thought on this. And Steve, I think you're going to be in agreement with what I'm about to say. I think a Ouija board has a bad rap because this is just my opinion, and I know people's going to disagree. You sit that spirit board down and you do your Ouija board thing, and things come across. In my opinion, it's no different than if I'm holding a Ovilus or a Phasma box and I'm getting them to communicate with me that way. I think it's just the Ouija board has that reputation,
and I disagree with you.
I think that I think that all devices can go wrong if not utilized properly, and you don't know what you're doing.
The thing is, with the Ouija board, it has a second name, which is called a witch board. But you have multiple people touching it, using their multiple people's energy, which could potentially open a portal. Whereas with a Ovilus or something like that is a single user and is using the energy that's around, not your energy.
So then explain how people have used other devices and bad things have been invited in and brought in, and the Ouija board wasn't involved.
Well, it's very, very possible that can happen as well. So, I mean, what I'm saying, like with portals, what we were talking about earlier, it's the people's energy that can open them.
Right.
It's
And
how he opens them.
You just said that, and that's that point. Here's what I got told about that, and this was a pretty good one from somebody who Kelly knows, dear friend of hers, and she's been brought up many times in a little motel to retrieve them, and it was because of one thing happened. They were not closed properly, or they weren't closed. They were left open.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is what? Hey, here's a Ouija board. Wee, Ouija board. Yeah, wee. And they're all happy. And guess what? You're now messing with a board that was never closed. And it's like, hi.
Wait a minute. How many times, Dave, have we been doing like a Phasma session?
Right.
And it's legit because the direct responses to the direct questions.
Right.
Now, we've had encounters where there were multiple spirits coming through there that were talking amongst themselves, and you could hear they were talking about us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that any different? Because now you have multiple things that found their passage in.
But no, well, the thing is, again, they're not using, and this is, we do this all the time. You're not using the people's energy and multiple people's energy at the same time, concentrating for one particular goal.
So all right. So wait a minute. You and Keith and Kelly are sitting there with your Ouija board, and you make contact with somebody, and they enter the conversation. Now I'm sitting here with my Phasma box,
just
getting direct contact.
Okay.
And that spirit comes in. What is the difference between the spirit that came in here or the spirit that came in here? They both came in through devices.
All right, but the one device is it's using the people's energy versus another form of static energy.
But if we come to the same answer and the same conclusion, what the hell's the difference what the energy is? And we still came to the same conclusion.
But we may not. It may not be the same conclusion.
That's like saying, well, I drove there forward and you drove there in reverse. We still got to the same place. We just got there differently.
But you're like saying that the same thing as AC and DC, even though they're two different types of electric. They're electric, but they're two different types. It might be, but we don't know.
I personally think though,
the great debate, the Ouija board.
I can see where the Ouija board can be dangerous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting it, but I think that's like saying don't get a pit bull, they're going to rip your throat out. You know what I mean?
Look at Flip.
Flip. This Flip.
Strategic on the other hand.
On the other hand,
I mean, that's like I just think the Ouija board is more hype than fact, because if you listen to people, don't buy a pit bull, they're dangerous, they're going to rip your throat out. No, it's the way they're trained. You could train any dog to do that or any dog not to do that. You know what I mean? So everybody has their own opinion. I just think anything can be dangerous. It's just the Ouija board, it's been in the movies. It's been in this and that. But it has that reputation that follows it.
But like, for instance, if you look at all the court cases, why do pit bulls have the bad name? Because they tend to have more issues. Ouija board, same thing. They tend to have more issues. I'm not saying that other items can't have issues, but the Ouija board, there's more issues centered around that. I mean, if you take things like, and
that might be the answer you said, and you just said it. Maybe it's that uneducated people are dealing with the Ouija board, and then that's how it has the bad experiences. Because I do believe, and I've heard Jeff talk about them, you truly, more so than the other devices, you better really know what you're doing when you're dealing in a Ouija board. And now the other, you turn on, you turn off, and then it's the energy's off, you walk away from it. But a Ouija board, you're not hearing those voices. Well, how should I say? You're not having that interaction that you can kind of try to filter. Ouija boards keep leading you. You're like, oh, yeah. Hi, I'm your friend. Hi. And then you keep going, and then they continue to build your trust until the day says, hi, just let me in your home and I'll be your friend. And then, okay, we've been friends this long. Why not? So I think it's that if you deal with, and this is where I go with Ernie with this, if you're going to deal with the Ouija board, you better make sure you know what you're doing.
Yep.
Because
close the portal when you're done.
A gun is safe if you don't pull the trigger. It's got a bad reputation. Guns kill people. Well, so do cars. But you need to know, you need to have that experience. Safety. So we'll go. I'll definitely say with that. I can see both sides for sure. But you better. Absolutely. That's like I would not want to have some, some backwoods person with with no teeth in their head and then hey, I'll tell you about Ouija boards right here. We're gonna tell you how they work.
Okay, if I can weigh in from an energy perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
Please
never, ever encourage anyone, and Ernie's heard me say this in person. I think, Dave, you were there too at the Miller Mansion. I never, ever encourage anyone to use their own energy or volunteer their own energy as communication to link an energy that could possibly link an energy to them. So the way I look at it as if you're using a tool, whether it's dowsing rods, a pendulum, a Ouija board, whatever, if you're using a communication tool, that's linking your energy to whatever wants to use it for that amount of time. If you are trying to communicate with a piece of technology, when that energy is expended, granted, you're giving it a battery, but sooner or later it runs out and you have to charge your equipment. And that's all that happens.
That's what I was trying to say.
So
see? Right there, yeah.
So I'm just saying, you have to be very, very careful. And I'm not saying there aren't ways to use your energy, because you can learn how to do that appropriately. However, when you're the tools are very accessible to people in this field, but you have to learn the right way to use them.
Right.
So
our current seminar we're doing is called Spirit Provocation, and it's basically why not to.
Yeah.
And part of that seminar is talking about inviting spirits to, use my energy.
No.
You never do that.
No.
And that, to me, that goes right along in a sense with provoking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You never want to.
It's not only like connecting your energy for the moment. It's then building a same, for those scientific people maybe listening and watching, because you're then on the same wavelength, energy wavelength as they are for even a small amount of time. It can create that bond. It's like making a new friend. And whether you don't know them well enough that you leave and you think nothing, could come of your interaction with them, they, however, have infinite knowledge of you.
Right.
So, you have to create those boundaries. And I think it was Tracy, I cleanse myself. I cleanse and protect with visualizations, things that I've said my whole life. I never worry about bringing anything home with me, but I just, the whole time, beginning, middle, end, the whole group I'm with. And to tie to Ernie's point about people, sometimes people who are really nice people and don't get a lot of interaction at a place, it can be because they have a huge group of people protecting them from the other side. Maybe there's something there that would be dangerous or detrimental to their health or their psyche or their stress level or something like that physically at a location. So it's not uncommon for a really nice person to go in someplace and be like, well, I didn't get anything. Nothing
well, here's the thing. You always hear on all these investigations, on all the shows, I just charged that battery and it's dead.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Where did that battery go? What do you think it's going to do when it hooks to your battery called you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to say is if it goes through this stuff right here, groovy. If it goes through you, no.
Yeah.
I
would never encourage, you can use my energy and all that nonsense, because regardless, I don't care. And this goes for, everybody, you can have a capture a voice on a recorder, and yes, that sounds just like my grandfather, and he answered my question. He knows the answer. Okay, you got that voice. I'll give you that much. but now give me the proof that that's really who you say it is.
Right.
So you never know. And the spirits, I mean, they're tricksters, man. And not saying that every spirit you come in contact with is bad, but I'm saying since we're on the topic of keeping your guard up.
Right. And you never know at this point. And
you never know.
None of us, I don't care who says it, none of us are experts in this field yet.
No.
None of us.
I agree with that. Trust me, I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
Here's the difference where people get confused. Like, for example, you can be a professional fighter, yet you're not an expert in that style of fighting that you're fighting. And there's the difference. You can be a pro and not an expert. Right. And in order to be an expert, it has to be a field that is proven. And you say, okay, boom, I'm at the end now. I'm an expert of this. You know, like with Dave and I are martial artists. We know many martial arts experts.
Yes.
I also know a lot of professional fighters that aren't experts, but they're professional. So how the hell we get on that topic?
Well, that when you speak of experts, though, a good point of that as well is that with Ernie and myself, Ernie, how long you been in law enforcement now?
24 years.
All right, I've been in the EMS, fire, so forth, 28, 29. So, and jury-wise, legally, when we get called to the stand, we are anything 20 years or more in a field that we testify, they consider that because the first people will be, well, what does that make you capable of making that statement? Well, 20 years in a career in dealing with, this has been my experiences. So there are a lot of, just like Dave said, thank God, thank you, 1,000 times over. It's a nauseous word when we see it in the paranormal. Huge turn off. Blink, blink, blink. Here we go. If you are currently have in the past, now, tomorrow, or in the future, calling yourself an expert, guess what?
Oh, sorry, something in my throat.
Beyond that, you're not an expert on a town, on a subject, or any of it. You're not. Not happening. Because just about the time you think you are, there's actually probably someone out there that actually is. So anyway, that's my soapbox. You're not an expert.
No. And Tracy, to jump back in and answer your question, I always advise people to sit out of any investigation if they're having any sort of physical, mental, emotional issue at all. Because if you're not going in with your whole energy, and that's what mainly we were talking about as far as, you know, going into a place that you're not as familiar with and kind of keeping your guard up, and that those spirits can represent as different types of beings. So that's really like those public investigations, those really haunted places that everybody likes to go to, major attractions, things like that. So you want to make sure to look out for yourself. But I always suggest people sit out, whether it's one investigation, whether it's someone in a team that needs to take time until they finish up a transition in life of whatever that is. But you have to go in with your whole energy, because I believe that any area of your energy that's susceptible can be susceptible to something that's not good and pure, depending on where you're going and who you're going with. And the other people that you're going with can also draw those energies. So it may not be just your energy that you're emitting, but everyone else around you.
Right.
If it's new team members that aren't as experienced, that sort of thing.
And for the people watching, don't think just because you don't invite someone to use your energy as extra energy so they can perform or manifest, something can latch onto you without you knowing it.
Man,
and, you know, I've had several cases where, you know, I actually thought I was having a medical emergency until I broke that threshold of that building or that room I was in, and then everything just went away. So don't think for a second that, you know, like Kelly was saying, you always have to take precaution.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Always bless in, bless out if you're religious.
And don't think that you know, because you're not inviting it, that it can't happen, because it can.
Right. And you need to state very clearly, you're not welcome to attach to me. You're not welcome to come home with me. You know, I thank you for your time, but don't follow me.
Right. And Andy, you have a very good point too. You know, anything that even people who don't want to admit some sort of an issue, you don't have to admit it to your team. You just take that night out. You just say, I'm sitting out tonight. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to but until you face those things yourself, it does leave you more susceptible to stronger energies who are not always the most pure.
So Steve is saying in here that he's got to the point there with it kind of speaks of immune to ghosts or stuff. I wish I had a paranormal experience. I'm kind of bummed that may not want to approach me. Let me tell you something right now. The four of us in this chat room on this show right now, Steve, in the very near future, we're going to be at some locations. And what I would tell you is this: you are more than welcome to come, and I'll make it happen to be our guest. I know Ernie and Dave,
Absolutely.
and come, and we're there to like, hey, let's. It's more fun to get to go with people that you get to see with us, and then we're there with you, and we're kind, we're cool folks, and then just, hey, let's do this. Everyone knows, I mean, I do bring a lot of equipment, but they're just tools to me. Maybe a camera. Somebody says they see things. I get pictures. So that being said, hey, I want it to be that everybody gets that opportunity. So here in the near future, when that happens, Steve, I hope that's the case. Dave, did you just pass gas? You just made a little funny face.
Something really bad went through my mind when you said I carry a lot of equipment, and I'm just gonna let it go.
Right on that, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, hang on. Let me. I want to comment on something Tracy just said. When people pass away, my theory on this is, you know how we've all heard like they go to the light, or you might need a medium to help them to the light. I'm a big believer that when someone, I hate to use the term, but circling the drain and they're getting ready to pass over, I believe that their loved ones come over and can get them.
Absolutely.
And that's why they see them.
But so real quick, as of recent, the story with my brother, and I'll make it short. So basically, that day of that Sunday when Kevin, we were all in the room, we knew that day was going to happen. And I was at his right side, and Kevin asked John, he goes, "Hey, John, can you open that door?" And he's looking at the ceiling. Okay, very clear. He's saying, "Can you open that door?" And we're all looking up. Some people were going, "What?" And I looked at Dana, my sister, and I knew, and I was like, "He can open it." And he was like, "Dad's there. Dad's at the door. He needs you to open the door." And so I will tell you, that it's those moments right there. You just cannot say that didn't happen. That was amazing.
Let me help.
That usually happens during a reading too. At least my readings. I'll ask, who welcomed you when you transitioned to the other side?
Right.
So who welcomed you? And most times people can relay, or they volunteer without me even asking that. But more often than not, it's a loved one or a friend that was like family, and it is a really beautiful thing. But that's kind of how. That's a very different level of energy than what we were talking about.
Right.
For those of you who are a little newer to this, and we were talking more about the energy at places and during public investigations, things like that. That's not friend or family and your energy. That's different from an energy perspective.
Let me give this to Tracy. I met a very good friend of mine, Jamie, and she was on an episode of our show a few weeks ago. How I met Jamie, was when we were filming season 3 of Haunted Hospitals. To go along with what we're saying, Tracy, watch season 3, episode 9. Right. That's Jamie's. You know what episode we're talking about, and it tells about spirits coming over when they're. It's very, very intriguing, very interesting, and so if you get the chance, watch that on Haunted Hospitals, episode 9.
Yep. Discovery Plus.
Yeah.
Got to do that tonight. And I'm going in there. Got to do it.
I know.
She's got an amazing. Did you see that on there, Kelly? The one with Talisha? Go ahead.
Yes, I did. I put that on the screen, a little bit of her experience as Dave and Ernie were talking about that, and I can't believe what time it is. So can you?
Yeah, I just looked at time and I'm like, oh, some of us get up at 5:30 for work.
how everyone can reach out to you? Or
Yes.
Woohoo!
www.paranormalinc.net right here. If you see it. Put your hand out the way. But that has our YouTube channel. It has our Facebook page. It has our phone number, how to find us. It has our email address. And it has a whole bunch of really cool videos.
If you want to follow everything going on in the paranormal and post all what you got going on or whatever, go on Facebook and send us a request on Paranormal
and
page.
You can get there right here.
The easiest way. Guys, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for coming on.
We talked about so many things. I've lost track of, like, my mind is like
this went by really fast. I have no clue where the time went.
It's been over an hour and a half already.
Yeah,
Miss Kelly, we will see you in 3 short days.
And I get to do some live stuff. Y'all, I guess, will send it out, and I'm like, hey guys, and
we'll get you there, Keith. We'll get you there.
Steve, if you get to Bash in Pennsylvania, I will make sure you go on something. Like I say, I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm not going to show you a ghost, but I'm going to show you something you can't explain. His name is Clip.
Well, can you guys wait backstage for just like a minute or two?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Love you guys. Thank you for support.
See you at the Bash in a few short days,
3 days.
everybody.
That's right. I love them. You're so fun.
Yeah, and like we talked about the family, the fun. I mean, that's where you're close to people when you can have differences of opinion. Nobody got mad. Nobody, well, I'll tell you, by God, this is how we sit there and we just kind of went back and forth. And yet we tended to, and you tend to think, why couldn't there be more of that in the paranormal? And I guess it's that E word every time, egos.
Right.
People get the big E word. And that, again, we talked of the word tonight, experts, and that's kind of their thing. Well, that's an E word is where ego experts, right? Yeah. And that's a shame. When you do that is when you start your demise. I feel not only in any industry, any field, because then people are going to be really watching you to see if that's in fact the case. And when they start to see it's not the case, it's not a matter of if you start, to crumble, but just when you do. So, hey, I love the show tonight. Getting to hang out with my bestest. If everybody got to see our little cartoon little thing I posted earlier, you can see that's the fun stuff. That's what it is, folks. And I'll tell you, some of the people coming up in the very near future, you think tonight was fun. Just wait till we have even some more. Even it just keeps, it's the family of the Talking Tech Paranormal. But I tell you, we couldn't do all the fun things we do if it wasn't for all you really super cool folks coming on, inspiring us to keep having fun, having the conversations. Thank you to all our love and light listeners who are there.
Everyone is going to the Battlefield Bash in Gettysburg. It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend at the Wyndham in Gettysburg. It runs on Friday and Saturday from noon to 6 and Sunday from noon to 3. It's $20 to get in, and it benefits Wounded Warriors and some children's charities here in Pennsylvania. I will be there, and we will live Keith in from Texas.
Yes, and listen, so Kelly's going to be there. As I said, I've got some folks who've got COVID, and I'm not going to come and expose all of you. But what I will say is that what Pam and Steve are doing are amazing things, and every bit of it. So if you get a chance and you think, I'd really kind of like to go to that, do it.
Yeah.
Because once you go, it's like an annual retreat, like the big paranormal family reunion. So go do it.
Fun and for
go have fun. But next year, folks, I see the comments next year. So love you guys. Coming up, get to see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Until then, love, hugs, kisses. See you soon.
Have a great night, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.